Hello everyone, welcome to your Songwriting 101 with me, Cloudy Galvez. So what are we doing today? Well, if you tuned in yesterday, you will know already. And basically yesterday we were talking about different chord inversions, different chord voicings, and how that can completely change the landscape of your song. How you can use it to different voicings next to each other to create melodies, which you wouldn't have thought of before. Melodies with harmony. It's such an amazing process. So if you missed that yesterday, then head to our channel. I hit my piano there. Head to our channel and check it out. I think it's also going to be up on the website as well. So if you want to find out more about that, crack on. Okay, so today we're thinking about about extensions. So yesterday we were talking about suspensions and how you can use those different suspensions to create interest within your chord inversions, right? So we were taking the example of that Bruce Hornsby track, The Way It Is, in which a lot of people teach the C suspended second to be C, D, and G, which is correct. But in that track, he voices it like this, which you can see straight away the difference between this and this is huge, right? So it's about how you structure your chords. And so what do we do when we're talking about extensions instead of suspensions, right? So quick recap, a suspension is when you get rid of your third and replace it with either a second or a four, right? So if we were talking about the C sus2 there, we'd have the C major chords, C, E, G, but we get rid of our E, the middle third there, and we replace it with our 2, which is going to be D. So you got C, D, G, like that. And similarly, if you're making C sus4, instead of your third there, you're going to play the fourth note, so that's going to be F, C, F, G. So those are our suspensions. But in an extension, you're adding things onto your major triad. So in actual fact, let's do this in the minor. So we're going to do C minor. So I flatten that E to an E flat to make a C minor chord. Now, 1, 3, 5, right? C is 1, your root note. E flat is your third, your minor third. And G is your fifth. Right? Those are your basic building blocks of a chord. Now, what if we add a 7? Well, first of all, how you do that is you just count in two notes upward. There you go. From your 5. So in this case, we've got G's our 5. So G. Then you have your A. So B flat in our C minor key is going to be B flat. So that's our 7. Now, how do we invert this to use different voicings each time? Well, you can use your bog standard inversion way, where you just change your starting note. So it's all the same collection of notes, but you just change your starting note. So say we start it on an E flat now instead. You have E flat, G, B flat, and C. All the same notes, just in a different position. What about now if we start it from G? G, B flat, C, E flat. All the same notes still, but just in a different order. And finally, you could start it from B flat, C, E flat, G. Again, all the same notes, just in a different order. Just jumble them up. But that's very linear. It's very stacked. And what if we want to create some depth? Because it's not a very deep chord there, is it? We're all very close together. If you want to create some depth, there's a couple of things you can do. The first off is you can have the root, pinky finger on your left hand if you're a piano player, but you can have the root, we've got C, and then chuck the 7 on top. And now fill in the gap. So you need your third and your fifth. So there's one way to create a little bit deeper of a chord there. But you can also use your left hand to add in the third or the fifth there. So let's try for the fifth. We're starting to get a little bit more depth now. What about if you use an inversion in your left hand and then pick out the key tones that you want people to identify in your right hand? So let's say we're going to use the third inversion. Let's start this from G. We're going to go G, B flat, C, E flat, like this. And I think I'm going to chuck a G with my thumb here. But it's kind of messy all in this area. So you have to watch that and maybe get rid of the 7 and just think, right, I'm going to do an inversion of the C then. The C minor, and then the 7s are in your right hand here. See, we're getting a little bit more depth in there like that. Okay, so that's 7th chords, and you can change the order of all the notes and use it within sort of a structure to make things make a little bit more sense. So let's put that into context, because sometimes you say something, you think it makes sense, but then when you go to apply it, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can't do it. So let's take ourselves a chord sequence in C minor. So say we're going to do, we're going to do 1, then we'll go a little 5 there, 4, right? So I moved from 1 to 5 with a little kind of jazzy lick in between. I went to 4. Then we did this nice little inversion, and that's actually a C minor 9 there, because I've added that D. And then I went down and went here back to our 5. So you can use it within chord phrases like that to create a little bit of movement, rather than just kind of going. So we started on 1, right? That's very boring in comparison. So this is why we're going to add little tiny bits of movement. So I'll still work around the same phrase. Yeah, so we got, and now we're going to our 5, 4, and now here's our inversion. It's all working through different inversions and different voicings of those minor 7 chords that I was teaching you. That's it. That's all that is in a nutshell. And that's just me making it up off the top of my head. Imagine if you sat down and actually used that and wrote something around it that sounded pretty decent, you know? And I think if we sort of look at our inversions, there's loads of songs that uses those inversions to make melodies within your chord patterns, to make something move and sway. We have our Bruce Hornsby track that did that. Right, that's our Bruce Hornsby track the way it is. It's all inversions. The same thing with Toto's Rihanna version of Rihanna. They wrote it. What am I talking about? Toto's Rihanna does the same thing in the chorus. They get, it's just different inversions of things lined up next to each other. And that's how you use that to create a little bit of depth, a little bit of momentum. Now, you can do that with any extension as well. It doesn't have to just be sevens. I think the seventh chord is the easiest to wrap your brain around. So that's why I've done that in this session today. But if you're a little bit more advanced and curious about that extended harmony there, you can do this with everything. You can do it with ninth chords, 11th chords, 13th chords. You know, the jazzier, the better, in my opinion. So I reckon this is definitely food for thought for any aspiring songwriters out there. Think about next time you're writing a song, if you're going to do something sort of, is it going to be that? Or are you going to have there's exact same chords, but I use the inversions and little pickup notes in between, little grace notes and little sort of twiddly melody bits to spice it up and make it a hell of a lot more interesting. So use this to level up your songwriting. All right, guys, that's it from me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you again on Monday at 3:30. Okay, bye.